Good morning, beautiful. I have to laugh. I'll show you the day and tell you why I'm laughing. It's because I was just I just downloaded and transmitted a really amazing manifestation, healing meditation process with a little group of friends that we meet once a month to do stuff. And it was so powerful, really, that I woke up and, I finished it off. We had time to talk and everything was good. And I lost my phone. I lost my phone. And I went to go live and I forgot to turn on the Wi-Fi. Thank God I've got a husband with a brain. He was there too, but, clearly he still had a brain. Good morning, Robin. So here's the back garden with the prune ghost plant and all the stuff on the lawn. But this is exciting. We have to do this so that it stays nice. I actually have to prune a lot of stuff, but, it all takes time. Let's just look at this. 2 blades of grass with sun on them. I love that. And look, there's a spider's thread between them. Simple things, but really beautiful. And sunstrike never hurts either. Okay. All right. There's not that much to look at today. Or maybe it's just that I'm a little bit, whoa. So I think I just want to walk around on the back lawn and talk to you. Now, one of you made a comment on one of my videos on YouTube yesterday. It was a really good comment, and I thought I'll talk about that. And the gist of it was, hey, look, I was successful earlier in my life, and then I got sick, and it's taken me ages, but I've done it. I've got everything back together. I lost my business, I lost my money, I lost everything, and I've got it all back together. And I'd really like to go back into business, but I'm afraid that if I do that, it'll all go to shit again. I'll get sick again. It'll be too much for me, or something will go wrong, or whatever it is. And it's stupid that that's what's stopping me from doing what I know I can do. And I thought, well, what's this really about? And after consideration, to me, what it's really about is there's a situation that I lost. I had a loss, I had a failure. In this situation, it was being successful in business, and then, there was a health condition, and it all changed. I had that success, I lost it. And I overcome myself, and I've overcome my circumstances, I built everything back up. But if I now go back, note those words, to being in business and being successful again, what's to stop the same shit from happening over again? And this is a genuine reason to be afraid of succeeding. Because if you were successful before and then it all went to crap, you might subconsciously or very consciously be thinking, well, the next time I get successful, it might all just go to crap on me again. And how do I stop that from happening? So you associate success with having it all go to crap. And that's the place where you can make the change. Because it wasn't your success that had anything to do with things going to crap. That just happened to be what you were doing at the time. It was who you were being at the time that created whatever it was that happened. And this is the thing. We think that things outside of us create things inside of us, but actually they don't. It's us thinking and feeling and firing and wiring the thoughts and continually pouring the same chemistry into our body, which pushes the same genetic buttons, which pushes us onto the same genetic path that leads to a very predictable outcome. It's that self which does that. It's the same way that we always relate to people that creates the same relationships, that creates the same situations, the same conflicts, the same problems. It's us that keeps doing the same thing. That means that it repeats. So if you had a successful business, but then you got a health condition, maybe there was a relationship between that. Maybe you were very, very busy in the business. Maybe there was stress. Maybe there was other things. Because remember, every time we have a thought, we have a feeling. And the feeling, you have neurotransmitters, you have neuropeptides, and the neuropeptides signal your hormonal centers. And then you're talking to your cells. With every thought, you're talking to your cells. And if you're seeing the same thought, the same chemistry, that's what programs your cells for health or disease. It's up to us. And so what we do and who we are repeatedly and consistently over time is what creates our lives. So the fact that there was a success in business and then there was, things crashed and you lost it all, doesn't mean that becoming successful in business again is going to mean your health crashes again. Unless you go back and build a business in the same kind of way, being the same kind of person that you were before, still thinking the same thoughts about who you are and how your life is. And in that case, it's probably going to be exactly a case of rinse and repeat. Because it's us, it's me, it's you. We create that. So it's not the circumstance of being successful in business. It's who I'm being that will either support my physicality to support the life that I've created, just speaking about the example, or not. And that's the thing. We actually have to make the distinction between the creation that we make inside ourselves and what we've been programmed to believe, which is that everything that's outside of us is what's causing us to feel the way we are. And even that I feel the way I am because my body's sick. Oh my goodness, I've faced that. I still face it. Not that my body's horribly sick, but there are things that I can obsess about and say, oh, that must be a problem. Trust me. It really has, because I can look at my body and see others who are really facing serious crap, But the amount of bullshit that can go on in my head about what's happening in my body is just, I might as well have terminal cancer. It makes no difference in terms of how I'm thinking and feeling. So, and I don't have cancer at all, right? Let's just say that. But this is the thing. It's who we are being consistently, habitually, all the time that creates our lives. End of story. Jan, good morning, honey. So if you know that is the truth, if you choose to accept, believe and surrender, as Joe Dispenza would say, to that concept as being true, and I find that it is for myself, so for me this is truth, this is what I live, then I can go back into the same situation as a different person and I'm not going to get the same outcome. So if I'm in the situation of this beautiful person that asked this question on my YouTube yesterday, my thought is to actually look back, and I mean we all do this anyway, but look back from the perspective of who you are. You've overcome that stuff, right? And that was the past, and we're not going back to the past to get all worried about it, but to look back and say, well, how did I create that illness? And maybe you know, maybe you don't, but there's usually some clues. This isn't about, oh, what did I do wrong and what did I miss? This is not a case of analysis paralysis. But often you can look back and you can see, well, stress, long-term stress pushes the genetic buttons for disease. It does. That's just a fact. So was there stress? And it might not have been the business, by the way. The stress buttons can get pushed by somebody close to you being sick and you've got to suddenly deal with a whole lot of stuff, or you lose your job, or, anything that leads to long-term stress can be enough. And I've listened to the 500 and mumble stories on Joe Dispenza's testimonial reel enough times to know that there are people, they tell their stories and they're just going through their lives, having a normal life, and then some shit happens and 6 months later they get a diagnosis because it just tipped them over the edge. This is what happens, and I've even seen similar but less dramatic stuff in myself. We get stressed, the body reacts and responds. It can't not. It's just how it works. So, as well as looking back and thinking, well, how was I managing my physical energy? Was I looking after myself? Was I being kind to myself? And what were my thoughts about me? And when I was successful, did I feel secure in that? Did I feel like I deserved to be successful? You've got to start looking at who you were as a quote-unquote successful person that then had this thing that crashed and burned, however it was, and think, who was I actually being at that time? Because somehow I generated that change in my life for a reason, and it was a loving reason. It wasn't about punishing myself or sabotaging myself. I mean, you may discover that you were sabotaging yourself, but at a higher level, always the soul is saying, hey, wake up, wake up, wake up, there's more. And sometimes it takes a disaster to get our attention. It just does. Because we're so asleep. Or we're just comfortable, Why would I change anything if I'm comfortable? Anyway, that's a bigger discussion. So, to look back on a failure or a loss, to understand that, yes, I create it, and at the same time it's a co-creation because everybody is I create it, right? It's very hard to wrap our heads around this, the fact that my life is entirely my creation, and yet at the same time your life is entirely your creation, and somehow at the same time it's entirely our creation as well. It gets quite, the brain doesn't work around that kind of thinking very easily, but I feel it more than I can explain it. And so to completely stand in you draw a circle on the ground and stand it and say, right, I have control over what's inside this circle. And what can I do to change who I'm being so that I'm not like that person that somehow or other had to generate or allow or co-create or whatever it was, that set of circumstances in my past life, because I'd rather have a different experience this time. So who was I then? Hey, it's great to see you. And who do I want to be in my future? And what do I need to change? And it really isn't about, I've got to build my business differently. Although, you might think, actually, I do need to build my business differently. But why would you need to build your business differently? Well, I was always under the impression, I'm not anymore, before, because I wanted to be self-employed and, independent and all of that stuff forever, really. And I don't know where I got this. Actually, I do know where I got this. There's a mindset that goes around which says, if you're going to go into business, you have to work your ass off for the first 2 years. Just you're going to have to work your ass off for the first 2 years, and after that, it's going to get a little bit easier, and then you can start to relax when you get successful. David, great to see you. But actually, that's a pile of crap. Because I honestly, that is a pile of crap. Because if you start your business busting your ass, you will put systems and processes and people and everything, products, everything in place that are supported by you busting your ass. And by the time you're 2 years down the track and think there's traction and however long it takes, and who says it has to take 2 years, that's another thing. That's another piece of bullshit, actually. Because as we know, it's not like that now. It can either take 2 months or it can take 20. It depends on you. So, if you put things in place at the beginning which require you to bust your ass, by the time the thing's grown, it'll still require you to bust your ass. So you actually have to start your business the way you meant to carry on. And that was really hard for me to... intellectually I understood it, but it was really hard for me because the whole thing of effort and busting your ass was so innate to me. And as you know, I've been stepping more and more out of that, particularly because I've manifested a little bit more time freedom in my life. And it's felt so foreign and so strange. It's so weird. So, who were you being when you were that successful person and yet it all fell apart for whatever reason? If that experience was your creation, it was designed for you to look at it and go, well, how can I do that better next time? And you have an opportunity to do better next time, right? Well, if that was success then, clearly you need a different kind of success this time. Who is that person? Who is the new future you that is successful but doesn't create the disaster? See, success isn't really... it's got this name on it that says, I've got everything owned and paid for, or I have this, or I run a business, or I'm healed, or whatever it is. We have this idea about what success is, but that's just the thing. It's who I'm being that is ultimately successful or not, because who I'm being is what creates it. And, we all know either someone in person or we know that it happens. The classic example is somebody who gets a diagnosis of cancer. They go through the process of the chemo and the radio and the surgery or whatever it is they do. And the cancer, it's gone. They get the all clear. And then they go back in 6 months or 3 years or however long, whatever, and it's come back. It's like, why did it come back? It was gone. Why did it come back? And... oh, God, I could go down a rabbit hole and say a lot of stuff that I don't really know. But what I do know is that if they've been pushing the genetic buttons that created that condition in their body for long enough to create it, like, I just remember reading this because I got curious for some reason. Breast cancer cells have to divide 26 times before the lump can be felt, right? That takes about 5 years. It doesn't happen quickly. So if someone's been, and I don't know about the other cells, I just read that about that one, thought, oh, that's interesting. It takes a while. So if somebody has been pushing their own genetic buttons for that long or longer, Kerry, good morning, then how did you do that? What were you thinking? What were you feeling? Your habitual state of being scared and not even knowing it, being angry and not even knowing it, feeling unworthy and not even realizing it, feeling guilty because you just think that it's normal for you to feel awful and you don't even know why you feel awful. That's me too. God, I think I told you only recently I recognised the most excruciatingly painful shame and guilt, and I didn't even recognise what it was. I just knew that from time to time I'd have this reaction to things. It happened very often because I would do anything to avoid it because it was so painful. Something else I cleared recently. God, it was nice to get rid of it. I can do that now. Linda, good morning. You've reminded me I better look at the clock. Okay, still got a little time. So, if you want to repeat something, but not repeat some part of it that you didn't like, and I mean, God, doesn't this apply to relationships? You keep on meeting these deadbeat losers or leeches or manipulative people or whatever it is. And it's like, how is it that every single person that I think I'm going to have a relationship with and I connect up and it all looks good and then it turns out they're exactly the same as the last one? Shit, the thing that's in common with that is me. How is it that I continue to attract and support and somehow be a match to that? So you've got to hold up what you continually see outside yourself as some kind of mirror to say, well, how am I doing this? And, with relationships, it can be that you're simply not very good at saying no to complete bullshit. I think everybody has to get to that stage of saying, oh, this is rubbish. Do I really want to hang out with somebody who, I go and see this person or I spend time with them, and at the end of that time I feel like this. And I don't like how I'm feeling like this. So what the hell am I doing still spending time with them? And you've got to ask yourself that. Because people do this, and they do this a lot. They think, oh, that wasn't very nice, and yet they keep seeing the person and doing the thing. Not just romantic relationships, friends, family, everything. Oh my God, how it is when it's like that with family. What do you do? Well, it's a deep question you got to ask. But every time you spend time with that person you feel like that, you're signalling your cells. Whoa! Do you want your cells to be getting those messages? Time after time, day after day. And if you don't, what are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? Do you like it? Do you want to change it? Yeah. What is your own lowest common denominator? And if you don't like that, what are you going to change it so that it gets higher and better for you? For sure, it's a challenging question to answer. Particularly when you've been really habitually used to just settling for less than, right? Again, this was me. Didn't know it. It was just who I was. Until one day I realised it wasn't who I wanted to be anymore. So, yeah, if you want to get something back that you lost, but not have the experience of loss again, then you're going to have to figure out a little bit and be curious about, and I haven't actually said that being open to discovering this information really isn't about a ton of analysis, but it is about paying attention. It is about reviewing what you do. It is about trying things and getting feedback and seeing if you like the feedback you're getting, and if you don't like it, then choose something else and try that, and realize that if you behave like a different person, you're going to get a different outcome. If you keep behaving like the same person, you're not going to get a different outcome. You get the same outcome. You don't want that. So be somebody else, whoever that is. I think you probably were given a very wrong impression of what love is supposed to be like, Linda. And I think the best way to overcome that is to think of, your favourite pet. Animals are really good because, of course, their love is unconditional. So hopefully there is at least one animal that you have had in your life, or that you have in your life, that you can cuddle and love on, and they'll love you back, and that is as good an experience of love as you need to start building a new neural network about it. Because animals are so good like that, and you do have to find your own missing pieces, and it just means really thinking, well, what would it be like? And if you've got no idea, you can always look at movies and books and read about people who've had the experience you want. You just have to get new information and create a new collage inside your own mind about what you want to be true for you and how it might be. And the more you poke at it and play with it and explore it and try it on, the more you'll get to know it, and the more you'll put the pieces together, and you'll start becoming a new self. And there'll come a point when I'll tell you the story of the new self that I was absolutely startled to find myself inhabiting yesterday. Oh, I'm doing that, and I'm not scared? Who knew? I didn't, until I found myself doing the thing that I would never have done. So, yeah, I'll tell you that sometime, I'm sure, but I'm still in the middle of it. So, it is Friday. I now need to go inside and jump on the internet again and go and be with my inspiration, Dr. Joe Dispenza, on Dr. Joe Live, getting my input, my learning, my new information to help me create my new self. So, very much love. Look out for resonant replays over this weekend, and I will see you on my Monday with bells on. Big love. Until then, bye-bye.